work. There is no clinical. So why don't you just believe us? We know what is good for this country. 9 states. In this day and time where you have Starlink, which is also operating in Nigeria, by the way, billions, and this time trillions is being budgeted for another charade. But the framework is that they are already setting that up to fail, simply because they believe that the old and archaic way of doing it favors the establishment. Going digital fully in that regard will be too much of a risk for the beneficiaries of the people within the establishment. And that's what unites them. It is not about what people want or how people want it. And like in 2020, remember when they told you that if you do not agree with the way they are running the country, maybe you should go and run for election. And a lot of you started the campaign to go and make sure that you join their politics, register to vote and mobilize and all that, only for them to rig you out again. And they're about to do it again. And this time they are saying, no, they have the idea, it's perfect. We haven't finished. Come on, man. This shouldn't be so controversial if you have done what is right initially, right? And that is to ensure that a mandatory real-time election result is included. That's very straightforward and simple. Whatever is going to make it difficult should be what you should be working towards to ensure that every part of the country is covered. For the sake of the country, for God's sake. They don't give a damn about the country, if you come to think of it. Not that they really care in that sense. You see them fight or even organize to kill people, bring their military or their policemen out to shoot the armless protesters and all of that. They're not doing it because they love Nigeria. No. They're doing it because it is the only way to protect everything they've managed to steal from you. Election is just like the ritual, and they want it to be so. All these expectations about free and fair elections, come on, man, there's no free and fair election anywhere. They know that. So they have to curate it. They have to, it's like a script. So you are playing a part, they are playing their part, but they are the author, they are the director, they are the producer. They want it to have a predetermined end. So the idea of free and fair election in your own imagination is so contradictory to what they have in mind. And maybe this is the time everybody will find out. Maybe this is the time you kind of going to get to know that their interest is not your interest. You know, they always say that there is no permanent enemy or permanent friends in politics, only permanent interest. I have asked many times, whose interest is driving these guys? If it is your interest that is actually driving them, it shouldn't be so difficult for them to align with what a lot of you think is right. It doesn't work that way. Now, still on this their issue of their electoral act, here is what the supposed chairman of the ADC, the coalition, David Mark, had to say in response to Akpabio. Just give us free and fair election. Really? Give you free and fair election?
Your Excellency, my brother and friend, a very distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is the president of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Godswin Akpabio. My friend and brother, the executive governor of Akwa Ibom State, the author of the book, and his dear wife, that there should be electronic transmission. Let INEC decide whether they can do or they cannot do it. Don't speak for INEC, just speak for the National Assembly. And what the public wants is, let there be electronic transmission. Now, if INEC cannot do it, it is in their own problem. That's their own problem. Not for you to speak for INEC. It's as simple as that. But that's just a by the way issue. It's not a serious issue. Which
I don't want to sit here and reveal all my strategy. I am the first speaker among the three of us running. So they will spy on me. So you will have a limited answer here today. Another day you can bring me back. But that's part of what I do.
So, the establishment versus the establishment in that regard. However, there are those others who are also making their own input, warning this National Assembly not to throw the country into a political crisis if these guys are, or if these guys remain aloof, believing that, they figured it out. And therefore, whatever people who are currently rejecting this, their push, is doing is doesn't really matter to them, right? But they should. They are kind of like calling their attention to say, well, they probably won't really go well for you guys. But here is what Abaribi said on a space on X, on the same matter. What did the National Assembly pass? What is Akpabio and his gang doing? We're already dealing with the forgery of the new tax law, right? Where they have this alteration and all of that. That one in itself is just dying down, where people just have to kind of like pretend it's not an issue anymore. And you're having this Electoral Acts amendment that should be public. There are accusations that there are those behind to ensure that this that they passed is not the same that is currently causing this conversation right now. I don't get it.
What happened? There was a lot of movement, a lot of noise, and all that, and we never knew what just transpired. And we turned around and said, no, what the hell went on here? In fact, it was Senator Victor Ume who called my attention. I said, what we have in the paper before us, which we're supposed to have just gone through, was not what was passed, so that it was transfer. Then I walked to the Senate president and asked him, what exactly did we pass now? He told me himself, oh no, it was transmission. It's not a problem. Everything is fine. And I believed him. I came back. And then everybody was saying, no, this is what went on and all that. So we now said, okay, what do we do now? Under our rules, once the gavel is hit, you can only come back to that particular issue by a written motion. So it's like tying your hands. You can't move anymore. It's called a motion on rescission. And so what we now said, okay, fine. And he continued saying, don't worry, it was transmission. After all, he has been there in the rules before. But we said, no, the issue is not whether he has been there in the rules before. It was there. But it was there as an internal matter and a guideline of the INEC. And the Supreme Court ruled that the fact that it's a guideline of INEC does not make it law. That's why everybody wanted to be put in the law. So, where do we stand today? We stand with the fact that we thought that what we had passed was transmission. And they now say, oh no, what was passed is transfer. I say, okay, fine. Let us see the votes and proceedings. Usually, when you finish all your work in the Senate and do everything, the votes and proceedings, which follow on the next legislative day, you have to pass it. And the question is it a true reflection of what we have done? So we intend, and in our press conference, we said it very clearly, we want to see the votes and proceedings and know exactly what they have put there as what we passed. If what they have put there as what we passed is transfer according to the 2022 Act, then it means that we will have to activate the next step of our resistance. Because the problem is very simple. If we don't stop this, if we don't make the transmission of results in the law, they're still going to do exactly what they do in 2023. Write results, call it, and tell you to go to court. When you now get to court, the court will now tell you that it's not in the law. That's it.
You get the message. That is Senator Yunaya Abaribi. It was part of the entire process until the last minute when an oversight happened. He was believing that he was supporting, the amendment where the electronic transmission of election results will become law. But he didn't know that it wasn't reading transmission, it was reading transfer until the gavels, dropped. And there's nothing they can do. So right now, they are now trying to find out if the same, listen to this trick, they want to find out if all the senators received the same prayers, about this amendment to be made as an electronic transmission. Or did they also receive transfer in that part of the section? So you get now. It's like you are writing something now. You say section 5B. The election result must be electronically transmitted. And then you are like, okay, yeah, that's what we want. Meanwhile, others received, this election must be through manual transfer. So is it possible that some senators were given a section that says electronic transmission of results, and the others were given transfer of results manually in the same chamber? Why they all said, those in support of the motion say aye, they say aye. Those against say no, no, no. Gav. Only to discover that they just supported the retention of the old one that caused friction in 2023. So, isn't that even like a crime if that is the case? A senator that participated is now wondering if they were probably played that minute. There is another one from Bauchi. Yeah. His name is Abdunengi. Still on the matter. The 2027 journey, they pave the road, dig the hole in the middle of the road, pave the other parts, the lacuna and the rest of it that will shape your 2027 if you are paying attention. Here is Ningi.
Thank you so much indeed. Yeah. You and your colleagues, about 17 or so of you, came out after plenary on last Wednesday, or Thursday. The House has parted through fourth reading, but you envisaged that there was something wrong. Did you envisage that this kind of agitation will follow?
Well, the entire story has not been told, and it is important for Nigerians to understand the whole story. This is a process. As a member of the Electoral Committee, this is a process that started almost 2 years ago. And it was this same Akpabio and Tajuddin that provided funding and the roadmap for all these exercises. The Akpabio and the Speaker provided us funding to visit all the 6 geopolitical zones and spent at least 7 days there collecting results. And then we came back to Abuja, had a retreat in everything that we collected. For 3 weeks, we were studying all the submissions. We went to Lagos to finalize this arrangement. And in every step we have taken, INEC is involved, civil organizations are involved, international civil liberties are involved, Nigerian bar associations are involved, women group are involved. And the issue of that e-transmission was an issue that is bipartisan in nature. You have submission from Lagos, APC, agreed. We have submission from Delta, agreed. We have submission from Ikiti, agreed. We have submission from Kano, from Katsina, from Bauchi, from Maiduguri, from Adamawa, all in totality, agreeing with the e-transmission real time.
Is it in the plenary?
No. During the public hearing.
During the public hearing.
And when we now finalize, we went to Lagos and asked INEC to come. In every proceedings after the public hearing, INEC had representation there in every matter. And we visited every location in this country. And we also asked our consultants to give us what's happening in Ghana, e-transmission, Botswana, e-transmission, Kenya, e-transmission, Rwanda, e-transmission. And we asked, how did they do it? Everything that we were doing, INEC was there. Civil organizations were there. Nigerian bar associations were there. And we were guided, we look at the angles, and then we finish everything by the end of October. when we went on this recess. House came back because the position of the House and that of the Senate is one and the same thing. And that when the House came and passed their own, we said, okay, and there was an outrage by Nigerians that maybe Senate wanted to delay, whatever reason. We now said, okay, we wanted as committee members to inform Nigerians, to inform our colleagues who are not a party to being committee members, the reason for putting those clauses in the draft bill. And that's what we did. We took 2 days, had an executive session, and we acquainted every member that was present as to the necessity and the importance of each clause that we brought from the general public. And we agreed these are things that we are going to now take to Committee of the Whole, which is the final arbiter in agreement to these things. Then all of a sudden, we found some members, some of our colleagues, who were not a party to the executive session for the first time, for the second time, coming to Committee of the Whole to now raise questions that ab initio we had dealt with in an executive session. And that's why it saddens us that at committee,
because it's all intentional. They did all of that only for few guys to throw it all out. All of the concerns, the worries, as well as the supposed expected gains of the e-transmission of election results have all been answered, figured out. Akpabio and his gang are now acting, and they are very much aware, so they are now acting dumb. Oh, you want us to go and do e-transmission, when Nigeria doesn't have electricity? They are even using that to explain to people right now that national grid is collapsing. So on the election day, if national grid collapse now, and the internet is not working, so does that mean that there will be no election results? The blah. All of this have been answered. Nigeria government is not powering the power stations in Nigeria. I mean, that's something that is known publicly for more than 20 years now. I mean, if you want to cut it down. So when did Nigeria National Grid started powering the masts, MTN mast, all these guys' mast in Nigeria? When did that become the major one? And on the election day, the National Grid will collapse as a reason why they can't let you have that. So they did all of that job, all the field work, all of the consultations and the rest of that, all because they said they wanted to know what people want and how this could be done. Consultants, people offered free job and all of that to put this whole thing together. Only for a few guys to be like, no, we can't do that too. Let's tell them that there's insecurity in Borno and Sokoto. Because Sokoto and Borno have insecurity, internet is not working. So we cannot do it for the rest of the country. But terrorists who are locked straight deep inside the Sokoto jungle, right, and Borno jungle are able to upload 5 gig, 10 gig, 20 gig size videos on social media conveniently. But Nigeria, the almighty Nigeria, can't actually have a network that conducts real elections. But they have planned to take ballot papers to all these insecure places. So the only problem is to announce the result from there, transmit it. So here is a Ronuku that is trying to convince us that people are asking for e-transmission of election results in the almighty giant of Africa in 2026. And somebody said, a Ronuku older Ronuku said, they are asking for this e-transmission because they want to hack the election and make them lose. Ridiculous, right? You can't shame the shameless.
Get it very clear. I'm neither the Senate nor the Nigerians. But we can reason logically. You are saying to me that over all the polling booths in Nigeria should transmit electronically real time. Now, one, does the telecom operators have that capability? Two, do we have enough electricity to to undertake that responsibility in Nigeria. 3, is the structure, the infrastructure of the telecom companies sufficient enough to undertake such exercise? Now, what will happen? The last election we had, the INEC server was attacked over 1 million times. So, what they are saying is we should put the electoral process in the